Hello everyone and welcome to Office Hours number 40. I'm Ben Brownlee and we are now trying out something a little bit different with Office Hours. If you haven't joined us before, what Office Hours is, it's a weekly show where we just sort of sit back and take a more relaxed look at a particular shot or a particular task. Often it's something that's come up in the last couple of weeks of support where people have got a sort of idea that maybe doesn't sort of get best served by a tutorial on its own, but it's more kind of longer form exploration of a particular topic. It's also a time where people can ask their questions live to, well, not just me, but also to other members of the Boris FX family as well. And we look at different software depending on the week that we're working on. We're also trying out something a little bit different today, where we're going to be not just on the Boris FX Learn channel, we're also coming to you live on the main Boris FX YouTube channel as well. So hopefully we'll see some new fresh faces here. But let's take a little look now at the shot that we're going to be working on today. Do feel free, actually, whenever you're around, to start asking questions in the chat and just make sure that everything's working how we want it. So if you can't hear me, hopefully you can hear me now. But if there's ever anything wrong, just shout out in the chat if you've got any questions as well. So we're not actually going to be doing this exact shot, but what we are going to be looking at in Mocha today is figuring out what it was that went into some of these, like some of this tracking. So there's a few little elements here that's going on. And one of these is things that can be tracked and things that can't be tracked easily. Let's just put me in the corner again there. So some things that can be tracked are going to be sort of some of the stuff in the corner. So the camera is a fairly straightforward track, but the fingers themselves, as they're wobbling, right word? Probably not. As they're moving around, they're actually quite difficult to track because the hands are going to be changing shape and the fingers themselves go behind each other. So it's not as straightforward as you might otherwise think. So for any time we're looking at this sort of shot, what we want to do is try and find something like a balance between getting the job done in good time and getting the job done right, with the majority of the time happening on the getting the job done right, I think. So here are the different takes that we have of this shot, and we have, let's take a little look at that one again. And this is where, if you're coming at this from a from a perspective where you can actually sort of come in and help to choose the shot yourself, or you're in a position where you're having any sort of influence on this sort of area, you want to try and aim for something that's going to look right, do the work that you need it to do, but also be nice and trackable. So this is why we take several takes of the same shot. So here's another one where we've got that same sort of camera pan down, looking up. We've got a big zap, and we've got that little tap, the look to the camera, and then the look down again. That little double take, which I kind of like. This is my favourite so far. I don't think even that's the shot we saw at the start. But let's have a little look at this other one. So we've got the move down to the hands, looking up, bit of a shock, maybe a bit too much of a pause there. So I think I'm going to take that 94. I like that 94. Okay, so here's something right at the very start of this shot, or right at the very start of this process, before we've even got into Mocha, that's going to have a real, big influence on what it is that we're doing. So the first thing we're going to do is split this clip so that we're not tracking everything. We don't need to track everything. We're going to be sending this into UltraZap later, but that's sort of by the by. The fact is, if we don't need to track the entire shot, why send the entire thing into Mocha? There's no point. There's no point. So once the electricity has gone, so probably around about there, I'm going to split that clip out. And where does the electricity start? Well, maybe, yeah, it probably does start. She's lifting up her hands. We do want to see a little bit of electricity there, because otherwise, why would she be wiggling her fingers? Makes no sense. So even down there, maybe. Okay, so here's my favorite big keyboard shortcut for After Effects. IBON. IBON. Go to the in point of the clip, set the beginning of the workspace, O for going to the out point of the clip, N for setting the end of the workspace. IBON. Very powerful. Always think IBON. Right. So here's the little bit of the clip that we actually want to track out. I'm going to do something that you should never do now. I'm going to do this on purpose because I want to show you how much of a problem it's going to cause later. Because what we want to do when we've got the part of the clip that we're wanting to track in, we want to pre-compose this. If we don't pre-compose this, we're going to get like a ton of problems later down the line. With tracking data, it's not a huge problem, but if you're using Mocha Pro and you're doing any of the other sorts of, major modules, you could wind up getting yourself in a bit of a tizzy by not pre-composing this. But guess what I'm not going to do? I'm not going to pre-compose this because I want you to see the problems that we're going to get into. Okay, let's go into Mocha. And I'm just going to come into my effects and presets, and let's go Mocha. I'm actually only going to use Mocha AE for this because I'm just going to do regular tracking and masking, so we don't need any of the stuff from Mocha Pro. I just want to show you how we can do all of this stuff in Mocha AE. So let's load up Mocha AE. It's going to make everything go really, really big. Let's kind of bring this into the right state again. There we go. This is nothing better than repositioning your software on the fly. There we go. Look at that. Beautiful window. And I'm going to head us into Essentials mode because that's where we're going to do most of my work. In fact, generally speaking, when I'm starting out a shot, I'll always start in Essentials mode because I think it gives me that nice balance between having a big viewer and give me all the tools that I actually need to get the shot done. Okay, so the question is now, how do we track something that isn't always in the screen? And what are we wanting to track? Well, what we're actually wanting to track is a few different things. We're wanting to track the fingers, so we're going to do sort of 2 lines across the ends of the fingers so that when we get zap involved, we can start zapping our fingers. And there's a couple of different movements to that. So there's the movement of the camera as the camera goes up, and then there's the movement of the fingers. Can we easily track the movement of the hands? Well, I don't think so. We can't. I mean, look here. We've got fingers crossing each other all over the place. We've got hands going down and not being able to get a nice consistent view of either the the back side of the hand or the palm of the hand. So yeah, it's not going to be great to try to track the hand out there. So instead of doing that, why don't we track something that is going to give us at least one part of that movement, and that part of the movement is going to be the camera. So if we at least take away the movement of the camera, that's going to leave us in a bit better stead. So where do we track then to try and get rid of the camera? I mean, if we try and track, I mean, we've already said we can't track the hands. Let's look somewhere here. I mean, we've got this pipe, which is kind of coplanar to the hands. Well, it's not coplanar to the hands. It's the same distance away, I think. So from the camera to where the hands are in focus. So that's something. So maybe we do that. But if we come to the front of the shot, do we actually get enough of that to be able to track? Well, I don't know. Maybe not. Maybe. Only one way to do. Let's try it out. Okay, so I'll make a little simple shape here. Little X spline, and I'm using just the control key to distort that into place. And now got to think, what sort of tracking am I really after here? If we were tracking the pipe, it'd be easy. Tracking the pipe, you'd go with perspective, because it's a flattish surface, it's going to be moving in perspective. But I'm not tracking the pipe, I'm tracking the camera. Or at least, trying to track the movement of the camera. So let's get rid of everything there. And let's start tracking that through. I'll come up and rename that in a second. Let's just track that forwards. I've got a little chat from CERN here, who says, just bought Mocha Pro and been watching tutorials for 2 weeks. I'm still totally lost. Ah, there we go. Perfect. It'll come to you. It'll come to you. The more you watch, the more you kind of experiment with things, the easier it becomes. I promise you. I promise you. I think the main problem I've got with Mocha is that the better I got with Mocha, the more I wanted to do with it. And stuff still started to, I still sort of kept on that sort of plateau of wanting to do more with it and having to find out more stuff. I think that's what makes it interesting to me. And Murray says thank you. No, thank you. Thank you for joining us. All right, so we've got that tracked in. Is that going to be good enough? Maybe. Maybe. I'm going to leave that there. I'll call this one the pipe track. I'm going to show you a different way of doing this, and then we can compare and contrast these two. I think that's probably interesting. I should say another thing about office hours as well. If you're new to this format, these shots are usually shots that I've touched very, very little before, so I'm coming to these, rather fresh. So let's come in here. Another way of sort of tracking this is trying to find sort of coplanar elements that are going to be useful to track out. So if we were over in the over here, so wanted to track something on the clothing, I do have a little bit on the jeans at the bottom there, which is kind of interesting to track, but it does disappear off screen at some points, probably around about there. So here's another way of handling this. So I'm actually going to track this little area down here. I'm making a little doing the elliptical tool, because I think that's one of my little favorite places to start, because even if I'm not going to go for an ellipse, it automatically gives me some little control points on there, so I can sort of shape it how I want it to. Let's just do the translation on this, and I'll track that one backwards as well. And I'm looking and I'm waiting to see if this is going to start going nasty. That seems all right. And then at this point, it's going to start going off screen. So here's what I can do. I can actually move this whole area, this whole shape, to somewhere that's going to be like coplanar, or share the same relationship with the camera as that initial shape did. So maybe something here. I'm actually a bit skeptical of this. I'm going to see if that place gets covered later on. It kind of does. All right. Well, let's see what we can do. Experimenting. So let's just track this forwards now. So you can see as the shape jumps, it's jumping, but it's now staying consistent until the hand covers it and things go horribly wrong. And at that point, I'm going to come back to where it's good. I'm going to add a little keyframe, and I'm going to come to the next frame and then find somewhere else that's going to be, useful to track. And I actually think we're going to end up back here on that pipe, aren't we? We are. There's actually no two ways about it. I think that's going to be the best thing. And then take it back to that last good frame one more time. Track that forwards. And that should, again, move that shape, but still give us a nice consistent track afterwards. So we got, hang on, let's give this a nice name. Let's call this one clothes track. There we go. So we've got 2 bits of tracking data now. And I want to see which one is going to be most consistent for us. And we know we can't look at what the shapes are doing, because I've actually animated these shapes out. And this is an important thing with Mocha, is that the shape data and the tracking data are separate. They're two completely different things. They feed into each other, but they're separate from each other. So if I come back up to my my workspace here, and I go to my surface tool and turn that on, and turn on the grid as well, you can see they're popping in down at the bottom here, because that's where my first shape was. But I'm going to bring those up here, and these are our representations of what the tracking data is. So if I play this back, if my surface tool and grid are looking nice and consistent, then I'm going to be pretty happy that the track itself is going to be nice and consistent. And we can see here with the bits where I've changed stuff over, we've got a bit of drift on the clothes, because these 2 areas aren't exactly coplanar. So look what happens as I play this back. It's going to sort of drift away. It's nice and consistent, but it's not locked on. So I'm going to give that a maybe. I'm not completely sold on that one. We'll do the same thing with the pipe track here. The surface and the grid are already turned on. So let's play that back. Have a little bit of a look on that. And I'm hoping and thinking that that's going to be a lot more consistent, and that's going to be where we're going to base our the rest of our work on. Yeah, happy with that. Now, if there was a time where we couldn't use that pipe track, let's say we had to use that clothes track there, and this can actually happen quite a bit. If you can't get the track that you want, you have to work with the track that you can get. we'll have to do something else. We'll have to use the AdjustTrack to try and help us get involved in this. Before we move on, I just want to say hello to all of the new viewers who are popping in. This is Office Hours. I'm Ben Brownlee, and we're sort of just working through a little shot here that we're going to be taking into to UltraZap in a little bit. Yeah, so if we've got a shot that we can't fix, but we do have, like, I mean, that there is actually fairly consistent tracking. It just kind of slides a little bit out of place, but the track itself is pretty good. In these types of scenarios, this is where we would go into AdjustTrack. AdjustTrack is a way of letting us take tracking data and starting to fix it up a little bit manually. Now, AdjustTrack shouldn't be used if you don't have pretty good tracking to begin with. I see this happen like time and time again, is that especially with people who are sort of joining Mocha fairly recently, like they want to use AdjustTrack to fix dodgy tracks that are jumping around all over the place. I mean, you could do it like that, but you're going to end up not using Mocha to its full extent, and you're going to just be, basically doing manual work, manual keyframing, when you actually could just be better off kind of figuring out a better place to track. But so where something is, where you've got bad tracking data, don't use AdjustTrack. Where you've got tracking data that slips or slides a little bit and consistently, that's when you can use AdjustTrack. And AdjustTrack, I think the easiest place to find it is just by going into classic mode here. So this opens up some of the other modules. Now, because we're in Mocha AE at the moment, all we've got is track and AdjustTrack and the clip, of course. If you're in Mocha Pro, you've got all of the remove, mega plates, all that other fun stuff here. But this is the reason that I'm staying in Mocha AE, is to kind of focus us just on this little bit. So with AdjustTrack, what I want to do is get us into the last good keyframe, or yeah, the last good frame basically. So I'm going to turn off some of this other stuff that we're going, and I'm making sure that my surface itself is on something a little bit visible, which is going to be this button just on the shirt. And then I can head into AdjustTrack, and I'm going to be using the like the new AdjustTrack. I'm not going to be using classic. I only really want to adjust the translation, so I'm just going to hit set points. There we go, and that's going to give me a reference point here. And what I can now do is just move this out until I find, let's move this up as well, until I find the point where this drifts off the most. Hopefully it's going to be before it goes off screen. Yeah, it is. It's going to drift. There is the point of maximum drift. You usually sort of go back a few frames back and forth to try and figure out where it is. But where we find that, the arc of the animation where it drifts off the most, that's where we want it to go. And then I can just move this up here, and we can compare like the reference frame and the current frame. I can even sort of get auto to try to match that up there. That should be all right. And then if we play that back, just take a look at what's happening in the zoom windows. What should be happening is we get like a nice consistent view in this current frame. If it's moving off like it is here, what we want to do is find where it moves off the most, which is there, that frame there, and then we can sort of just add another keyframe. I'm just going to auto it in there, and then hopefully that should fix us pretty much where we need to go. Let's maybe move us there a little bit. I want to add as few keyframes as possible, because the more keyframes we add, the more kind of jitter we could put into the image if it's not the right one. So that's, I mean, that's not bad. Yeah, that's going to be all right. Cool. Okay. Let's come out. We're not going to do any more with AdjustTrack. I just wanted to show you that, because now we've got our fun stuff. We've got all the tracking data we need. Now we're going to get in there and we're just going to start to like attack our shot a little bit. So remember, I'm just going to come back out and just show you what we're sort of aiming for, which is we're trying to build up some little zaps across the fingers. Boom, boom, boom. And all of these zaps are being controlled by Mocha splines in UltraZap. So we need to just come in and we need to sort of build up our finger splines. There we go. Cool. So back into Mocha. Remember, this is wrong. Okay, this is wrong. Bear with me for another, I'd say another 20 minutes, and you'll find out how badly wrong that is set up and what we can do to fix it. I think that's probably the most important bit. Yeah, knowing something's wrong is like, yeah, it's useful. I mean, knowing how to fix it is more useful. All right, okay, so let's pop us back up here somewhere, shall we? Where we can see all 5 fingers. And we're going to start tackling this right hand. And let's create a new spline on this. I'm going to use the X spline tool, X spline layer tool, and I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right on the ends of her fingers. Right click to close that shape off, and we don't want this as a closed spline. We're not doing masking with it. We're going to be having this as a nice free flowing open spline. Let's just right click on one of the corners again, on one of the points, and go spline, open spline. There we go. And let's just place those exactly where we need them to be. That's good. All right. Let's call this one hand right, and we'll call this, it's going to be the mask, isn't it? Hand right mask. Yeah, we're probably going to, if we have time later on, we're going to do spline masks for all the fingers as well, I think. But let's see how we get on with this. Cool. Okay, so we've got all the tracking data that we want. So now let's use that to actually help with our hand mask. So if I was just wanting to go with the pipe track, the one that is actually pretty good, I still come down to my pipe track. Oh, there's a couple of things are coming in. Agos Riadi, left is her finger perspective. Yes, I'm calling this the hand right mask because it's screen right. I always look at these things from the screen perspective. Some people, probably more sensible than me, will actually write hand SR mask, so they'll go screen right mask. And hello Randy as well, nice you could join us. Yeah, so once we've got the mask there and we've linked it to the pipe track, most of the work is going to be done for us on that. So like it's taking out not the finger movement. Finger movement's still going to be a pain, or not a pain. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a pain. So the finger movement's still going to be the main thing that we're going to be working with. But the the main movement of the camera is going to be cancelled out. So that's fine. If on the other hand we were going to go and link this to the clothes track, the other one that wasn't quite as successful, let's have a little look at this. So this is sort of doing it, but you can see it's drifting. Yeah. And that's weird because we fixed that drifting with the AdjustTrack, and yet it still looks like it's drifting. Okay, here's something that's it's a little bit hidden when you're in the Essentials workspace, simply because it's kind of one of those things that you're not gonna need all the time if you're just doing sort of the basic work. So all of that stuff that is one step beyond gets hidden away in another tab, and we're going to go into layer properties now. So if we take a look at layer properties, we have things like the blending modes and all that sort of stuff. Not interested in that at all. Not interested in the insert clip either. Boom. What we are interested in is this link to track. Okay, so this is the same link to track as we've got in the Essentials, except there's one other little button. There's a little button that says adjusted, and what that does is you've got two eyes, yeah? I want you to look at two things at the same time. I think I might just do this a couple of times. I want you to take a look at what happens to this shape here when I turn on adjusted. So I'm turning on adjusted, and it's moving just that little bit, yeah? So with adjusted turned off, it's just using the regular tracked frame. With adjusted turned on, it's using the link to the track with the AdjustTrack that we've got on there. So if you've used AdjustTrack to help out your tracking, and you're linking other layers to it, remember to pop into the layer properties and turn on adjusted. Otherwise, all that lovely work you've done is going to be for nothing. So yeah, it's don't do that. But having said all of that, I actually think the pipe track is our best bet here. So I'm going to come in and I'm going to do that. I'm going to use that. Okay, so here's where we're going to have to do a bit of work. This is my my least favorite bit of the process. Obviously, going to have to do a bit of work on it. So what I'm looking for here is the last good frame. Again, it's that concept that I keep coming back to. It's that point in time before everything starts falling apart. And at this point, it's not falling apart at all. It's the fact that she's moving her hands as well as moving the camera. So where does she keep her hands up? I mean, it's probably round about, is it there or is it there? It's much for muchness, it's fine. And at this point, I'm going to come in and I'm going to make another keyframe. And actually, I'm going to make another keyframe by just bringing in all those individual points. Now, if you've ever watched me do any sort of rotoscoping work, which hopefully at least some of you have, what I tend to say is you work big to small. So we always start by working on the by adjusting like the main shapes first, and then you go and work with the individual points afterwards. At this stage, there is no main shape because she's doing this all the time. Too much of that. So at this point, we're just doing the individual little points down there, and that's going to help us out. But when she moves her hand down, boom, boom, boom. Okay, that is going to be a big movement. And that's going to be a big movement because we're just going to have to try to bring all of that shape down at once as well. So let's do that. Let's where she brings her hands down here. Boom, thank you very much. Let's pan around, holding down the X key here. Let's have all of that selected. And I want to move all of these and transform all of these up at at the same time. Now, if we're in classic mode, there's actually some lovely little tools that can help us do that. If we're not in classic mode, if we're in essentials mode, we've still got the same tools. We just might have to bring them up. And we do that with right-clicking and going into the advanced tools down there. Like by default, you've got basic tools. Basic tools will get you most of the way there for the basic stuff. We're now trying to do something that's a little bit more fun. So we are going into the advanced tools. And this shows us up this little fella, the transform tool. Oh yes. So this puts a big bounding box around all of the points we have selected. So it means I can just move the bounding box around, and I can do things like, I think we saw this earlier. If I hold down the control or command key, I can sort of start to distort this into place and sort of try and figure out where those points are going to be. So I've got like the main gross movement going first, and then I can come in, figure out where that little finger's going to be, around about there, behind it somewhere, and then just put those dots into place. Where is that little finger going to be? Probably there. And let's turn off that bounding box. And that's moving all that up. All right. So far, so good. Yeah. Okay. Now we've got the nice stuff, which is chasing these fingers all the way around the screen. I don't want to do any chasing. I'm too I was going to say I'm too tired for chasing. I've been doing this for like half an hour. No, I'm too wise. There we go. I'm too wise to do any chasing. So I want to show you one other little thing that you might not see if you're only working in the Essentials workspace. And that's this little fella, which is the quick stabilize. So if we go into the view menu and you go into stabilize, we have this little quick stabilize thing here. And by default, it's set to the selected layer. So it's going to stabilize around whichever layer you're working on, or you could sort of like hand pick a layer you want. I'm happy with it being on the layer that I'm working on. I'm just going to hit stabilize here. And now when I move around, let's actually, come on, Ben, let's do this. Let's do this the right way. Have that stabilized on my pipe track. Thank you very much. And now hopefully there you go. You can see that a bit better if I zoom out. You see the viewer is now moving with the tracking data. And Michael's asked a really good question here that's going back to the AdjustTrack. Under what situations would you adjust track but use the base track info? I mean, I think that's one where I know he says his question's coming late. It's fine, Michael. Absolutely not a problem. Yeah, I think a lot of the time that comes in is giving people the choice, or being very transparent about what's happening with that transformation. You don't want people to have something that is opaque to them. You always want to have a chance of going back and just sort of looking at the raw data, because a lot of the stuff that we were working in Mocha is always built off of the sort of main tracking data. Even the even the sort of shape data is built off of that main tracking data, or the shape data movement is based off of that. So I think if we always said that you have to use the AdjustTrack data when linking layers together, that would sort of go against the ethos there. It could also be your AdjustTrack maybe isn't fantastic, and you want just a quick way of going back to going back to the original raw data when you're doing rotoscoping. So that could be, that could be the movement. But I think mainly the idea from a design point of view is just to be, very, very clear about and transparent about what's what's happening there with the data. So you don't want to assume that people are knowing what's happening with that data. I'm just going to very quickly, while I look through other questions that we've got, I'm actually just going to very quickly start to keyframe this up a little bit. I know I'm sort of becoming a little bit aware of what the time is, because time does keep slipping. We've got another question coming in from Firdaus, who's saying, hello, how can I track the camera in Mocha? If you're in Mocha Pro, we have a camera tracking module. And if you want to know a little bit more about that, head on to the main Boris FX website, go into the video section, and we have a couple of very lovely video tutorials that are all about the camera tracker and how to work with it. Some of them I think are actually done by me, so be prepared. Be prepared for more of this voice. All right. I think actually if you're watching a lot of videos on the Boris FX website, you should be getting quite used to this voice anyway. I think it's very difficult to avoid me, for better or worse, I think, depending on your perspective of that. All right, so what I'm doing here is that because most of the actual hard work is being done by the quick stabilize now, all I have to do is just kind of keyframe these fingers, or just the points where they're going on the fingers, and I can guarantee you this is as much fun as it looks. So depending on how fun you think this is, you are exactly right. I don't even know what's going on with that keyframe there. There we go. Let's it's because the fingers are moving so fast. Right, let's go up to the top here. Let's do a little bit more of this, and I think we'll then count this as a job well done, and we'll move on to the next section. Got another question coming in from Michael. Ben, are you using a mouse or a tablet? I'm using a little tablet, but I always have my little trusty mouse right next to me as well. I think a lot of the things I like to do with the mouse, I like to use the middle mouse button actually quite a bit to do scrolling back and forth. I've also set up that sort of functionality on the tablet as well, but I keep dropping my pens. So not only do I have multiple pens all around, like everywhere, I also have a mouse for when I've dropped my third pen on the floor. I tend to prefer, actually, when I'm doing this sort of work, I do tend to prefer using a pen and tablet over a mouse. I just find that at the end of the end of a long day, my hand is generally less tired with a pen. But having said that, this Logitech mouse that I've got is nice and ergonomic. I'd say it's probably the best mouse I've got. Not a sponsor, but maybe Logitech, hit me up. Wacom, they're also not a sponsor, but again, hit me up. I need more pens. It's ridiculous. It's actually, it is ridiculous. A grown man should not be as clumsy as I am. All right. Okay, so let's take a little look through here. Let's just play that back. I'll turn off the stabilize in a sec. Yeah, we're getting the idea. We're getting the idea. It's not completely done. We've got the idea. Let's turn off the quick stabilize. I can hit asterisk on my keyboard, on the number pad, and we can see, yeah, that's we've got the idea of what's going on. Okay, cool. All right. So we've been tracking this and doing all of our work so far in Mocha AE. So the free version of Mocha that comes with After Effects. Now there's nothing to stop us from taking this project, exporting it out and opening it up in any other, wherever actually we find Mocha. And we find Mocha blooming everywhere at the moment. So whether you're wanting to transfer a project from Mocha AE to Mocha Pro, or as we're going to do now, from Mocha into the Mocha that is built into Sapphire or Continuum plugins, we're going to do the same thing. We're going to do everything exactly the same. So I'm going to go up to File, and instead of just saving the project, which saves it within our project, or within our on our layer, our After Effects project, I'm going to export this project out, and I'm going to find a sensible place for this. We come into training. Let's come into office hours. Let's actually not just call this Mocha. Let's call this one Mocha Projects. Thank you very much. And I will call this one AdjustTrack 01, because it's a little bit of a work in progress. Right, so we'll call this one AdjustTrack 01, and let's save that out. I'm going to exit out of here. Everyone's happy. Cool. And let's come in and bring in UltraZap, or UltraZap, and let's bring this onto my clip here. Okay, so UltraZap, if people haven't worked with Sapphire before, yeah, UltraZap is just, it's a nice little zappy little electricity effect. In fact, I'm gonna load up a preset here. While it's thinking about what presets, I'm gonna do my very clever fill the screen. There we go. And we've got a variety of different presets we can go from. It doesn't really matter about what presets are at the moment. I'm actually just going to go with, I think, with the full reset. Am I going to go with a full reset? Yeah, let's do that. Just so we can see what's happening. I'll change that up in a little bit. So yeah, the full reset is just, it just gives us a little stroke effect, which is cool. And we can change our mode now from UltraZap to UltraZap Mocha, but that's not really going to do anything. Everything's just going to disappear. And the reason for that is that we haven't got a Mocha project. Let's go in, bring this back in. I wonder why this is the wrong size. There we go. Anyway, so this is Mocha again, but if you take a look in the top left hand corner, it's Sapphire Mocha. So it's the version of Mocha that is built directly into Sapphire. I can now merge my project. Let's find my project there, the Mocha project we just did. Open that up. And look at this. Hey, everything looks great. It's all cool, isn't it? Everything's good. Everything's great. Okay, I'm going to save that. Now, if you've only just joined us, right at the beginning of the process of the stream here, I said I was going to do a big mistake, and we were only going to feel it a little bit later. Well, everyone, later has happened. We are at later now, and this is why you have to pre-compose your layers, because when we're doing any sort of other effect that After Effects wants to render out, if we're not just using Mocha data for feeding other tracking, like for null object or masks or anything like that, After Effects has a lovely little habit of not quite matching up the time of the Mocha project to the actual clip project. And it's a fun one. It's a fun one, and it's one where people get, you know, a bit confused about what's happening. Why their renders shifted a little bit, and they also get a little bit annoyed because, you know, it shouldn't be doing that. Well, we've done all this work, and our renders are off. That can't be, can it? Okay. Well, it's not great. So it is a simple fix though, and that's why I wanted to show this to you. I'm just going to cut this effect so that it's going to keep all the other stuff that we have, and I'm going to pre-compose this layer. So I can either go up to layer, pre-compose, or I can just right click on the layer. That's easy. Let's bring this over here. And I want to make sure that I move all attributes into the new composition, because we want to make sure that the everything that we've got is going to be, you know, baked down into that comp. And I want to make sure, this is very important, I want to make sure that the composition duration is adjusted to the time span of the selected layers. So boom, boom, make sure these two are selected. Yeah, cool. Okay, so let's paste that UltraZap back over the top. It's still off. The animation's still off. Yeah. Is that an unworkable nightmare? No. It's easy. It's easy to fix that now. So I'm going to go into Edit Mocha, and it's easy to fix that whatever version of Mocha you're working on, whether you're working Mocha AE, the After Effects one, Mocha Pro, or one of the plugin versions here. And this was a change that happened, I don't know, probably half a year, maybe a year ago now. Time has ceased to make any sense to me anymore. So it happened a little while back, and it's something we need to do. We need to go into classic mode to see this really. So let's take my click on my hand right mask. Have a little look at this. So you can see that half of this here, that actually, you know, this clip that corresponds to where we did the initial slicing at the very beginning of this project, isn't tracked anymore. But everything else looks tracked. Let's go into the dope sheet to see what's happening. And I'm going to go straight from the pipe track first. So we've got all of the keyframes are still there. They're just in the wrong place. They've just been shifted. And this is the change that was made to make things really easy to fix this. Because before you had to like select tons of stuff and then shift it all down manually. Yeah, not great. Now I've got to click on one button. It's this button that says Move to Playhead. Click on that. All of my keyframes are going to move to where I need them to go. Close track. move to playhead. I think even that, I mean, everything's moved anyway. So now if we take a little look, let's go back into essentials mode. So we're comparing apples to apples. Now if we take a little look, all of our animation should be in the right place. Yeah. Blip, blip, blip. So let's come back out, save that, X out of there. Let's do a quick RAM preview. And at some point, you know, where I've actually done the animating, you'll be able to see. So about halfway through. Okay, maybe let's drop us down to a third render quality, so we can render everything out. I always, you know, work in 4K or above on these streams. There's no reason for it. It's just forgetfulness. But yeah, now you can see that all of our animation actually stays in place where it's meant to. So that's kind of nice. And at this point, I can come in, I can change that preset to something else, maybe something a little bit zappier. Mad Scientist, that's pretty good. I like that. Yeah, all right, fine, fair enough. Change that to Mocha, UltraZap Mocha. Change the composite mode to screen. And hopefully, nice and zappy there. I mean, it's got a little bit of I think it's the curve amplitude or one of these things that's auto animating that's sending it a bit weird. But you get the idea of what's happening. We can sort of animate this up a little bit. Take this around, bolt length a little bit. Let's change the animation up. Get that going there, so we can start to, you know, animate this up. But this isn't the important bit. This isn't the to me, this isn't the interesting bit. The interesting bit is how we got here. Like once we've got all of the actual animation stuff sorted out, you know, all of this stylization bit is a little bit more you know, straightforward. You know, the tricky bit is getting the data, the tracking data in. Let's, yeah, do something like that. I don't know. I'm going to turn that off, animate it all up, do loads of fun stuff with it. And then what we're going to, you know, what we end up with is something that looks a little bit like this. Hang on, it was just the oh yeah, that's the bolt that's grounding to the pipe. It's the other reason to do the pipe. Yeah, we end up with something that looks a little bit sort of ultra zappy like that. And I'm going to take this idea and I'm going to start to build on this outside of the office hours, and actually sort of, yeah, make a final little effect. If you'd like to see the sort of the end tutorial on that, because I think we're gonna sort of break this down into different bits. Yeah, let me know either in the chat now or in the comments below if you're watching a replay, because we have unfortunately run out of time for this office hours. I hope you found this useful. We've actually been through a lot, really. You know, looking at stuff that couldn't be easily tracked, or where we start to track things when we can't actually get the track on the thing we want. We looked a little bit at AdjustTrack. We looked at a little bit at stabilizing the viewer up, and you know, some of the sort of hidden things that are, you know, not immediately obvious if you're only working in essentials, which again, like I said before, you know, most of the time fair percentage of my work is done all in Essentials, especially at the start. Even if I'm working on a big project, always start in Essentials. Best place to start. Speaking of Essentials, if you want to learn a little bit more about Mocha, here's my final pitch. Here we go. Here's where I'm going to go full camera. Look at that, professional. Yeah, if you are just starting out with Mocha and you want to learn a bit more about it, head on to the Boris FX website. Go to the video tutorials, and there's a Mocha Essentials course which you can watch for free. I think it's many hours. I think it's like 6 hours now or something of free Mocha training. It goes through a lot of this stuff in a bit more detail, and actually talks a bit about how Mocha starts to think and work. If you want to see more office hours, I mean, office hours is going to be here to stay, but it's going to be up to you to decide what some of the subject matter is going to be. It's not always going to be Mocha. We have got some Continuum coming up. I believe Continuum's coming up next week. We've also, got all of the Sapphire and Silhouette and Optics as well popping through. If you are on the Boris FX Learn channel, then you will see you can go through and actually watch some of the older office hours. But if you're brand new, because this is the first one that is also on the main Boris FX channel as well, let us know what you would like to see and what sort of topics you'd like covered. So it's very much a two-way street. So thank you very much, everyone, for joining me for now. My name is Ben Brownlee for Boris FX. I hope you found this fun, and I will see you again very soon. Bye for now.